My name is Mitch Bryars, and is anybody here for the first time? No first timers? First time. Okay, so are you with somebody? Are you first timer as well?
No, I came last year for a few sessions.
Okay, is that your spouse?
Yes.
Then she knows all the, you can tell her all the rules and things, or do you want me to go over them?
I'd like to wish you did.
Well, I'll quickly go over them. Our club meets generally 95% of the time, every Wednesday at 11:30 till 4 to 1 here. And the usual schedule, which is not the schedule this month or next month, the usual schedule is the first Wednesday of the month. Our president, Jerry, does a question and answer session on any topic that you'd like.
And I answer some of them.
And he answers some of them, and which ones he doesn't answer, we get good answers from the audience. I usually do the second Wednesday of the month on iPhone, iPad, iOS items, but for December and January, that's going to be the first Wednesday of the month. And then on the fourth Wednesday, George, our vice president, does iLife, which is iPhoto and all of those good things. And if we have a fifth Wednesday of the month, we generally have a guest speaker. We podcasted in excellent speakers from around the world. So, we also have on the third Monday each month, November through March.
Yeah, except January, it's going to be on Tuesday, because the third is a holiday.
Okay. We have a meeting from 5 till about 6:45, 7 o'clock here. We generally have a guest speaker for that meeting as well. And then the other big benefit of, and those are all to the public. If you become a member, it's $20. I believe our treasurer is here. Don is in the back. Applications are on the table. It's $20 per person, $25 per couple. If you become a member, you can participate on our discussion board, which is a place on Yahoo where you can post questions, and I can almost guarantee you will get many responses to your questions. You can also post items to sell, Mac items to sell. We don't make that a big practice, but I've posted things. I had a person this week that emailed me and said, I got this wonderful iPad to sell, and I put it on the club website, and I haven't gotten any responses. I said, well, I didn't see it on the website. I said, well, I'll put it out there again. I said, is it out there now? No. So we figured out that the problem is that you have to post things from the website or from the email that you're registering with the club. Otherwise, it doesn't post. So sure enough, he found that out from Jerry. Did he get a hold of you?
I think so.
Yeah. And Jerry said, well, it's this email, and he posted it, and it was sold immediately to Don in the back. So it worked out good. Now, the other thing that we have, if you're a member, is we have classes at Hodges University. They run from about mid-January through mid-March or so. There's 8 or 10 of them. I'll be doing a couple on iOS 8 for iPad and iPhone. I know there'll be some on iOS applications, third-party applications. I think Maryland's going to do at least one of those. Two. Jerry will be doing the first 2 sessions, and that'll be on Yosemite. Each of those sessions cost $10 a piece. They're 3 hours. And there'll be a few others in there. Scott is here. Are you going to do one, Scott? On pages. So those are really good sessions. You have to be a member in order to register for those classes. The classes are generally limited to 50 people. They're always on a Monday. I assume that's going to be the case this year. And that's a great benefit. The last benefit I want to mention, and I'm actually going to show some of these tutorials today, is we have 5 subscriptions to lynda.com, which is an educational service. They have thousands of videos on different items, they have 3 right now on iOS 8. 2 that came out earlier, and then 1 that's brand new. That's I just started going over it. It's excellent, and I'll show a little bit of that today. So that's another benefit. And the way you get into that is, if you're a member, you email George, and he says, "Well, I've got time available after January," and you say, "Well, I want the first week of February," and he says, "Fine, that's available." He emails you back, and the first week of February, you get an email from him, and it tells you how to log on, and for a week, you can do any courses that you'd like to do. Okay? Yes, Carl.
On the calendar, it says the money meeting's on the 22nd, which is the 4th Tuesday.
Oh yeah, I think because of the holiday, are we doing the meeting Christmas week on a Tuesday?
Yes.
And then the following week on a Tuesday as well,
I think so.
for New Year's? Yeah.
But also the money meeting is the 22nd, not the 15th.
Yes.
Yes.
Because of the holidays, we had to, the important thing is subscribe to the calendar and look there. We're giving you the general structure, but because of what happens in the holidays and with for Christmas and with the federal holidays on the third Mondays, we run into some problems.
Okay. So, for today's meeting, I asked you to silence your phones and your noisemakers for the meeting. Yes, Marilyn.
I don't know if anybody, I guess I know there are a few people who have an app called Apps Gone Free, which tells you about apps that are free. And I just was searching this, and there is an app on there today that's normally $5 called Maps.me. It's for traveling and navigation. If you're interested, it's free in the App Store today.
Okay, and that one.
I can't tell you that much about it because I haven't explored it that much, but
If it's free, you download it, and if you don't like it, you delete it. This is what the app looks like that she's talking about. Apps Gone Free. So you go to the App Store and download Apps Gone Free, which is free. And then every day it'll have this number, 5 of them out there a day. So we'll hit that. And the one that she's talking, so these are the 5 that are free today.
I haven't even looked at the others. I just saw that was,
And this is the one she's talking about, the first one, right?
yes.
Okay?
How many apps do you have on your?
We're not talking about
We're
that.
not talking about that, right?
That's why they have 128 gigabytes.
That's right. I have about 270 or 80 on mine. But I generally look at this every day, and if you want one, you just hit on it. It'll tell you a little bit more about it, and then you can just choose to download it.
I know this involves many different countries, and you can get offline maps and things like that. So.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, well, this is probably the last meeting that I will attend, and certainly the last one that I will chair this year.
Should we pass tissue around?
Yes, we should pass the tissue around. And so I promised a surprise today, which I'll get into momentarily. But before, don't cry. Before I do the little surprise that I have, I just wanted to wish everybody a happy holiday season, whatever your denomination may be. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and I wish you all the best in this Christmas season. Now, with that in mind, I do have a new app that I want to demonstrate in the spirit of the season.
Is it
Just
free?
get that out. There we go. There we are. Yeah. I mean, I hope you enjoy this special surprise. I don't think after this they're going to let me do any more presentations.
We may have to negotiate a contract.
So where's your Hanukkah?
Huh?
Where's your Hanukkah?
Yeah, well, if they would have had one, I'd have had that on. All right.
Reception better with that on?
Yes.
Very good.
Okay.
So that's it?
That is the special surprise. That's not a surprise enough for you. You can be dismissed early.
I thought we'd have a telegram.
Okay. We did have some questions, and one of them we just figured out. Really getting the questions, usually, a lot of times I'll ask for questions when I send out the announcements for the meeting. And if you have questions, it really does help me a lot. If you send them in, the earlier the better, because it allows me to research things. Now, unfortunately, two of the questions that I got, one came, I think, this morning, and one came maybe last night later after when I was busy last night. So it didn't give me much, since I still work, it didn't give me much time to research those couple. There was one that came on iCloud a few days ago that I did research, and I did come up with good answers. But Jerry had a couple. One was on, is there a way to do group mail in iOS 8 without using a third-party app? And to my knowledge, I did some brief research, and the answer is no. Although you can trick the system. So like you were mentioning, for example, if I want to send out a message to the board members, what you can do is you could create an email to the board members, save it as a directory, okay? And then when you pull that up, copy every recipient, put it on a new email, and send it that way. But there's no way to create a group that would be board members other than through a third-party app. Does anybody else have anything other than that on that? Yes.
I'm on the board of the Naples Hungarian Club, John Leslie.
Yeah.
And I just put everybody's name on the Naples Hungarian Club, and every time I'm going to send them a mail, I just click on it and it sends it.
In your iPad?
iPad or the computer, the Mac.
Doesn't work for me, does it?
How do you do it again?
Maybe it's on the
It's on the computer.
Probably on the
It's
computer.
on the Mac.
It's on the Mac.
On the Mac, you can, I think, do it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You can do it on the Mac.
I thought
Yeah,
it was a
yes.
big-
There is one other way I've noticed on this, somewhat strange, but if you once create an email with all of the addresses of the individual you send it to, then you want to send a new email out to that same group. If you type in the name of one person, start typing the name of one person, you will find that you're able to see that one person in all of the emails that you've sent, and one of them being the group that you previously sent over.
Yeah, that was the second
That was
question.
my second question.
Okay.
How to get rid of those.
Yeah, how to get rid of it. I'm going to show that. So, and I'll show what he's talking about. So if I'm here and I'm doing a new email and I'm doing it to Jerry, usually this is what happens, and Jerry's got so many emails, I think he's a spy. I just pick one and I just send it off to him. But if I scroll down here, I'll see, oh, there's Jerry and George together, which is what you're talking about. And if I did, if I went on down, I could probably find one that that was more than Jerry and George. Okay, here's Jerry, Patty, and George. Okay, so that's what you're talking about, and you just select that one and go. What Jerry was talking about is how do I do away with that, because he was sending to a lot of people, and they were populating right at the beginning. Okay, and so the way to do away with that is if you hit the I right there. This comes up, and you just hit remove. okay, remove from recents, and then it's gone.
You just hit the I letter?
In other words, if you go on down, if like here, the I will be there if there's more than one person. So like here, it's Jerry. Okay, so I hit the I, and then I hit remove from recents. Okay, that was your second question, and that's again a way you could do a group list as well.
Now, would these be in the two line?
Yes, 2-line. Yeah.
No,
I think it's in any, but I think it's in any line.
Any
So
line.
so-
Do the CC.
if you go down here and I put Jerry down here, it comes up again. But and I would have many more in the 2-line. But I think the ones that I've already erased are gone. So here, if I wanted to erase this one, remove, and over there.
On your Mac, this is called recent recipients. And if you go into, if you're in Mail and you go up into the window, I think, area, you click on it, it'll show recent recipients. And it shows everybody that you have sent an email to. And so if you have people, sometimes you start typing in somebody's name and it ends up with the wrong email address because 3 months ago you sent to the wrong email address. What you want to do is go into recent recipients and erase all the bad email addresses so they don't keep jumping up into your face. And that's in the back. Now this is how we do it. And I didn't know it until 20 minutes ago. How you do it on your iPad or your iPhone.
Yes.
Regarding that apps, or the maps.me,
Yeah.
I just downloaded it, and when you open it, it asks you, first, can we send you push notifications? I couldn't see any reason for that, so I clicked no. Then it says, can we access your location even when you're not using the app? And I clicked no. If you do that, then you get nothing.
Right.
So you have to let them see where you are even when you're not using it.
Ah, okay. Good. That's the gimmick, yes. Okay, so the next question, before I go into the question, I wanted to mention this. I didn't post this, but I'll mention it. That Amazon is running a special on certain, I think it's on certain things, and when you order, it sort of pops up and it says, oh, you're an Amazon Prime person and you qualify for this coupon. So I ordered a Sonos soundbar from them the other day, and they never discount those. And it said, oh, you qualify for this $50 coupon that can be used on your next order. And it's a little confusing because there was no coupon code to put in or anything. But then I ended up getting this email from them, and it said, thank you for your purchase, and the next time you purchase, you'll get $50 from Amazon. So they've got that going on now for the next 2 or 3 weeks if you're buying something. I don't know, it might just be the amount that you spend, or it might be the item, but you have to be a Prime Amazon user to get the benefit. Yes?
Do they tell you you're going to get that credit before the purchase? In other words,
Yes.
before
Yes, it
because
said.
there's something I've been thinking about getting from Amazon, and it's
It
always
said,
been the same.
it said when I was just looking at the page, somewhere in small print or right at the top, it said, oh, you qualify for this credit. And it's either 10, depending on how much you spend, it's 10, or it's 20, 30, or $50. And it's a one-time thing. And then you have to use, you can use the credit, I think, anytime. Or you have to use it by the 15th of June.
They will routinely do that when you buy music. If you buy a CD, for example, frequently
Yeah.
they'll give you $1 or a $2 credit
Credit
on
on
an
that.
MP3.
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to mention that. Now,
Mitch, could
yes.
Could I just mention, if there's anybody who has an iPhone 5 or a 5C and would like an honor case that's pink, but my daughter-in-law got a new case that is free, they want
Pink.
for an
Okay.
iPhone 5 or 5S or whatever the other one's called.
Okay, good, thanks, Don. Okay, so, okay, we've got to find, here's Marilyn's questions. So I want to bring up her questions and get some response. She had emailed me and she said, I know that I can delete albums from iOS 8. I didn't even know you could do that, but I'm not a big music person. I have tons of music, but I don't play with it a lot. Can you delete songs? If yes, how? And I looked at that and I didn't see where I could delete them from my device. Does anybody else know how to delete a
I'm
song?
sorry, could you repeat the question?
Can you delete a song from an iOS device?
iOS 8.
iOS 8.
It's in an album.
You can delete an album.
I don't even know how you can delete the album.
You can, if you go to the album, I think you slide it to the side and I think you can delete it.
All right, we'll take a look at that in just a minute. Then she asked, if you buy an album from iTunes on an iPad, put it on your computer, then delete it from the iPad, will it still be on your computer? And the answer is yes. Okay. Now, then she asked, she said, if you have all iTunes songs, do you need to have iTunes Match? I actually Googled that. I'm sure you did. I didn't get very much. I got a bunch of stuff. But let me talk about iTunes Match for a minute. It's Apple's service that costs $25 a year. In my estimation, it's very much worth that if you have a great deal of music. And what it does is it puts all of your music, or most of it, that it can match. And their library is very extensive, so they can match usually 95% of plus of the songs that you have on your computer or on your device, no matter where you got them. And a lot of mine I got in the days you could download them for free. So, it will match them. And if you've gotten a lot of your library in the days of when you could download that stuff for free, it does a great service because it will take your songs that you downloaded from those services way back when, and most of mine were 128, and it will make them 256. And so you get a much better quality song that you've gotten for free originally to begin with. Now, then, and I'm really going back now, when iTunes Match first came out, I think it's in its second or third year, there were a lot of articles, and you can Google this, on ways to download your iTunes library back down to your computer so that you have all your songs at 256 rather than 128 on your original device. And it's sort of a scary procedure because if you Google that and see how to do that, you actually have to upload all your songs, and then you have to go into your library and you have to delete every song on your computer, and then you have to go in and download them from iCloud, and it brings them all back at 256K. Now, then there was another thing that came out that said, well, why do you want to download an iTunes song that's already 256K? And there were a lot of articles floating around that said there's 256K iTunes quality and there's 256K iCloud quality, and there is a difference. Now, I can't hear the difference. Jim, you're a music guy. Have you heard about this?
Well, no. Yes, but the other thing is that it takes up a lot more space than your hard drive.
Yes, it does. That
If you,
does.
if you double the bits per second,
Yes,
that means instead of 4 megabytes for, say, a 3.5 minute song, it's going to be 8 megabytes.
exactly. That's not a concern for me, but for some people that'll be a concern, but in my iTunes library is now about 1.6 terabytes. And so it's off.
I don't hear the difference even through very good speakers.
I don't hear the difference.
I mean, I don't stop and say, oh, that's 128 or this is 256, and I can hear the difference. It's mostly, is it an older song or a newer song?
I don't hear the difference either.
Even though I'm in your country. Probably didn't hear it to begin with.
I have
for
a,
your grandkids.
I have a funny story to tell you about that. I thought it was funny. My secretary at Merrill Lynch came in the other day, and she's approaching 70. I think she might be 70. And she has needed hearing aids for at least the last 5 or 6 years, and of course that is a very delicate subject. And in a big corporation, you can't just go up and say, hey. But she finally decided this year she met all her deductibles, and she wanted to get her ears checked, and the guy said, yeah, you definitely need a hearing aid. So she comes in, she says, I got my hearing aids. She says, can you tell? I said, yeah, I can. She says, how can you tell? I said, because you're not talking at this level, you're talking at this level. And it was the absolute truth. Yes, Jim.
I just went to the list of my songs on my iPad, and I swept from the right, and up came a little box that said delete.
Oh.
Do you have iOS 8?
Yes.
Well, let's go there now. I wanted to mention one more thing about, I'm going to show that. So let's go to my...
Are these ones that are in the cloud or that are actually on the device?
As far as I know, it's on my device.
Symbol next to it on the right.
No? Okay, so I have iCloud Match. So this is my library, and when you see the cloud over here, that's that indicates it's in the cloud.
The one I swept on does not have the cloud symbol.
Okay, now I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to get to one of those in a minute. So if it's in the cloud and you're in Wi-Fi, you just hit on the song and it'll start playing. It'll start playing from the cloud. Now the problem is if I walk out of here and I'm in my car and I want to play it, or I'm out on a bike or something and I happen to want to listen to my headset, if I haven't downloaded it to my device, then it will not play. And there are ones that I've downloaded, so let's see if I can find one. Most of mine, as you can see, are in the cloud.
If you click that cloud symbol, make sure to download that one song now.
Yeah, okay, so
Otherwise,
we'll
not
try
doing
that. Yeah. And then we'll see about swiping. There we
There.
go. Okay, so this is how you,
You want to show us how to turn sound on and off?
yeah, you turn the sound on and off right here. Well,
That's the play.
that's where you turn it off. Who's playing? Are you?
No.
Oh, behind you? You want me to put my hat on again? I mean, you're playing Christmas carols.
It's not letting me do it.
Trying to turn it off?
There.
Okay. Okay, so what you're saying is you swipe it? Yeah, you can delete it then. But when I
Now,
delete
you
it,
know, it works on some of my songs and not on others.
when I delete this, I think it's all it's going to do is put it in the cloud. It didn't really delete it.
Some of them, it will delete it, and some of
Yeah,
them it won't.
it's back in the cloud. It just put it right back up in the cloud. It deleted it from the device. And since I have
It's still in the cloud.
it's still in the cloud.
Yeah.
And that's because I have the match. Now, if you don't have the match, I think it's deleting it from your device and it might be on your computer, but I don't think it'll be deleting it from your computer.
This is not a playlist, right?
No,
No, it's a song.
it's a song. So here's the albums, and you were talking about deleting an album, and I must not have these downloaded because when I swipe on them, nothing happens. I'm sure I don't have them down in the cloud. Now, if I look at my playlist, well, if we go into like John Denver, on this device, they're all in the cloud. So if I want them, if I want to download them, I've got to download them. I thought there was a button to download all of them, isn't there?
The top one. Download all. It says download all.
Download all.
Right at the top.
Just below shuffle.
Now playing?
Fifth from the top.
On the left side.
So the button is on the right.
Left side, underneath shuffle.
Down.
Left
Down.
side.
The other way. The other way.
One more down.
Okay, good. I knew it was there somewhere. Now, on my phone, which is where I play my music from with a headset, they're all downloaded. Because, like I say, if I want to play them and I'm not in the Wi-Fi area, they won't play from the cloud. So I just download all my playlists. But on my iPad, I do not.
Also, you don't have to download them on each device.
No. And they take up room, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Any more questions on the cloud? Marilyn, did we help you?
Yeah,
Well, the other question, the other question that you had was if you have all iTunes music, if you bought all iTunes music, do you really need iCloud? And I don't think that you do, but if you've got your device, and it's not going to show the songs that you have unless you've downloaded them to that device. So because you won't have these clouds over here at all, and it will not show the songs. Now, if you go to download one, it'll say, "Oh, you've already bought this," and it'll bring it right on down. But you won't have it. Jared.
I got a whole series of email discussions from a collector of concerts and stuff like that, and his problem with the match was that the music that was being matched was not his original. I mean, he had originals that Apple said, "Oh, here is Frank Sinatra at such and such a concert."
Oh.
It was Frank Sinatra singing the same song, but it wasn't the equivalent of what he had. So he backed away from that. So if you've got really unique songs, be careful when you do match, because you might end up it's almost what you had, but it's not.
Or a live version of the studio content.
Yes.
Back to music for a second. I was playing music from the iPad to a Bluetooth speaker last night, and the same song kept repeating over and over. And I hadn't pushed it to do that, and I thought that maybe they weren't all downloaded, but they were. At the very top of the screen is a little tiny button that says repeat, and I must have inadvertently pressed it at one time. I didn't even know it was there, and it just kept repeating. It kept repeating. It worked.
Yeah.
Well, be careful of that.
Let's see
I
what
didn't know I had done it. See at the top in red it says repeat all.
Yes.
From the right. So press that and it'll turn unread.
You know the lyrics now.
I know the lyrics now, right? So turn repeat off, exactly. So that will set you repeat the song.
Mitch, I have another one.
Yes.
What's your name again?
My name's Les.
Les. Okay, Les.
When you change your Apple ID
Yes.
at some point in time,
Yes. Just
have
changed
you ever-
mine the other day.
Have you ever lost tunes that you had previously purchased under the old Apple ID
Um, uh, I have not, because I didn't change my Apple ID, I changed my Apple ID password.
Right. I was going to ask, what was the motivation to change your ID? It's your password.
It was my password, and I purchased a lot of, I think I put it on the board and you purchased from eBay. They had a great sale from a vendor I bought from before that was buy $100 worth of iTunes for $75, and you just never see 25% off on iTunes, no taxes, and so I stocked up and went through eBay, did it through PayPal. Those are supposedly all secure, and when I got done, I have so much in my, I have like $600 or $700 in my account. Because I buy movies, and I decided I'm going to go in and change my password to my ID. So I changed that. I changed my password to 1Password, and I changed my password to PayPal. Those were the only three that I changed, but I just sort of thought, I need to change these more important ones every once in a while. Yes?
The reason for having changed the ID was because my address changed. My server changed. So instead of using the one it was a frontier.net, and I had to change it to Adnoid. My current email address, adnoid@me.com. Okay, so once I did that, they lost all track of it. I had to call up Apple Care, and they were then able to track down my old purchases. But it's a big process. You got to go through a big process in order to get back those things that you purchased under your old Apple ID.
I've never changed my Apple ID. Has anybody else had experience with that? Yes.
I changed it because also my carrier changed, but when I had bought my phone, they said, no matter what, if you change it, you never have to change it, it's just your ID. I changed it, I went through so much problems that 3 different people at an Apple store at 3 different times finally got me back. So I would not suggest anybody, you never have to do that, I told you. Even if your address changes, that's your permanent one, and you should never, you can change your password, but you should never change that. It really messes it up.
Yes. Jim?
If you change your email address, isn't that just a setting, an account setting in Apple in iTunes? In other words, if you logged in under your ID and your password, can't you change your email address?
I thought you could, but what they're saying is it does present problems. I've never tried it, and I don't want to go through and try it for fun to see if it works.
I think Jim is right. I mean, your Apple ID might be an email account that you no longer are able to do. I think that Apple ID is still valid.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
They ask you not to change it, because the Apple Store says you.
Well, if you want to change it, that's different, but we created them using some email address, but I don't think it's using email to verify.
Right, yeah, exactly, it's not used for you.
Unfortunately, they don't tell you that at the time.
Right.
Yeah, it is a hassle, but you can recover your stuff. Like I loaded some stuff that I had paid money for onto my wife's iPhone, and then you can sign out of your account, but it's just a real hassle because you sign out of one, sign into the other. If you want to download updates or whatever, it's just a real hassle. But I agree with Jerry. You can keep the old one because they're not sending you email. That's just like a username. You don't need to ever change that, even if you do away with Comcast or Verizon or something.
Okay. Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's your name?
Barb.
Barb?
Barb.
Barb. Okay, Barb.
Okay. On my iPad, it's a new one. My music's all in the cloud. On
Yes.
my phone, it's being downloaded. Obviously, if I am not in a Wi-Fi area and I do not have 3G on the iPad, I can't listen to music unless I download it before I leave the house.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Carl,
Carl.
this is a little bit different subject. After I updated to ISO 8, I can't seem to get my custom ringtones. Do you know anything about how to do that? They're still on my computer in iTunes, but when I sync and stuff, I can't seem to get them over to my phone.
Well, you should be able to just go in there and I didn't have any problem with mine. I have about 20 custom ones I did. I think mine came over because I restored from a backup in iCloud. But you could plug it in, and you could also check and sync them that way as well. Yes?
Yeah, I just did that, and I got a new iPhone, and I restored from a backup through iTunes on my Mac, and it did not do mine. So then I just had to go in and click on my device from my phone and go to Tones and sync manually, and they just went right over.
Plug it into your iTunes. You did it on iTunes.
Yes.
Plug it into iTunes. The menu comes up, and you just hit Tones, Sync All, and then just hit Sync. Okay. Yes.
I had a message come into my email and on my iPhone, and it was just disappearing. And it was someone that I met while traveling, and I wanted to respond to her letter. I couldn't find it, and I went to my computer where it had been deleted also for some reason, and it wasn't in archives. I thought, well, perhaps it was there, and I went back into Time Machine, and I was able to find it, but I wasn't able to read the email address off of it, even though I would click on the little triangle.
I think, I'm going to defer to Jerry, but I think that some people can email and there's a time limit on the email and it'll just disappear.
There are some emails that sell themselves off the fact that they
Disappear. Poof.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking that happened,
Yeah.
that she had sent it out.
But if you have something that they're working off the IMAP server. Okay, if you've got one that you want to, if that person sends you a message again and you want to save it, put it onto a folder that's on your Mac. Then the poof, I don't think will work.
Well, I thought I had put it in archive on one of them, but
The archive is on the IMAP server. You gotta move it onto the Mac.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Carl.
Could you run through how you set up family sharing?
No. I haven't done that yet, so I'm going to reserve that for a time. Although I might run a video on that, but I do have a couple videos I want to show. So can we move on? One more.
We finally got iOS 8 on all three, 2 phones and this.
Yes.
But how do we stop the stupid things from everything going at the same time? Both phones, if we get a call, both phones go, the iPad goes.
Okay. Here's what you do. You give me your 3 iPhones, and I promise you in a week I'll be back. No, that's a good question because that'll drive you crazy. I think I told the group that it's a nice feature to have, and the feature they're talking about is that with iOS 8, and if you have Yosemite on your computers, it defaults to that when your phone rings, it'll start ringing on your iPad, it'll ring on your computers, and the intent was if you're sitting at your computer and your phone's out in the living room, you can just, it rings on your computer, you can just hit it, and you can just talk to your computer like it's a phone. Great idea, except in my case, my phone is, it's super glued to my hip, and so it's with me 99% of the time in the house. And so I don't need that service. So what happened was I found out that I'm sitting in the living room, my phone's right here, the computer's in the other room, and my iPad's in my briefcase, and somebody calls me and everything starts ringing. And not only does it ring, but when I answer it on my phone, it doesn't stop ringing on those other devices for another couple rings or two. So, okay, so what you do...
Now, Mitch, one thing that's even beyond that, why does both phones, which are different phone numbers, ring when the call comes in?
Well...
Doesn't it know it's not the number?
In your case, no, because your wife told me she wanted to know what you were doing. All right, so I think that this is the same thing on the phones. It might get a little more complicated. I want to show you on the iPad. So you go into settings, which is right here on mine, settings, and you go down to FaceTime. Right here, and you do the same thing on the computer. You go to settings on the computer in the upper left-hand corner, and preferences, system preferences, and you go in, and the square will come up, and I think FaceTime is there, and you hit on it. So it's very similar. And then what you do is you turn this off. Okay. Now, why it's doing it on both of your phones, it might be because, do you use the same Apple ID and everything? Do you share the same mail?
Yeah.
Well, that's probably why, and I don't, if you turn that off, that on the phone, if you turn it off on FaceTime, I think it will just turn off your FaceTime, won't it?
But on the iPad, you leave the FaceTime on.
You leave FaceTime on, but this iPhone cellular calls is what you turn off. Now, if you turn it off, and you turn it off on your computer, if your phone's ran in the living room, even though it's off, if it's off on your computer, if you've checked that off, then, what am I doing here, George? Hit okay? Don't worry about that. Apple ID is now being used.
Oh, I'm using it.
Still on your device on your
And that's the guy that said he'd erase the password.
There it is. All right, good. Okay. Yes.
A related question. My wife sent me a text message this morning to my cell phone number.
Yes.
To see if I was going to have to serve on this jury duty today or not.
Yes.
It also appeared on her cell phone, which is a different number. Wow.
It has something to do with your ID. I mean, if you look at messages on here, I'm going to skip up to messages, which is right here. So if I skip up to messages, there, okay. Messages. I thought there were some other things here on messages. Oh, send and receive. Check that, because send and receive. I just have one telephone number, and your wife might have two. I don't know.
Well, the only one I have checked is my cell phone number, my email address.
Yeah, but what does she have on hers?
Are you sharing the same ID?
Yes.
That's the problem.
That's it.
So any text message sent from either one will show up on both devices.
Yes. You've decided to have a very open and transparent marriage.
Absolutely.
Or else. I think she decided.
Exactly.
Is there any other kind?
That's why I want you to get a Gmail. email address that I can talk to you with.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute because
Everybody sent Scott, all the women in the room start
yeah, send him something like, we enjoyed seeing you at the meeting again, sweetie. Honey, it was so good to see you at the meeting. Should I display your email address up there, Scott?
Right on the screen.
Okay, so let's talk about IDs for a minute because it is very confusing. If you share the same Apple ID with your spouse, significant other, then that means that you're going to have the same email stuff. I mean, you could say, okay, I'm going to use the Gmail account and you use the Yahoo account, but you're both going to see them on there. You're going to both get the same text messages. You're both going to get the same FaceTime stuff.
I don't see any of my wife's emails.
You used to.
You can stop.
What?
Just turn off the
I see all the messages, but on my wife's phone, you just don't set the accounts up. You just don't.
That's right.
When you go down and set up the emails that you can receive, I just don't.
Well, yes, if you don't set up her email account on your device, you won't see them. That's right. But you could do it that way, and if you're sharing IDs, it makes it, because a lot of people, they want to share. I got a couple in Windstar where I live. They want the same calendar. They want a master calendar. I think this is what you guys would know what this is all about because they're retired. And they want to be able to look at the calendar and his code is blue and hers is yellow. And then if they've done something joint, it's pink. And so they can bring up this master calendar whenever they're making appointments and things and see if anything's conflicting. And that's really nice. But my calendar is so cluttered and my wife barely uses hers. So we keep ours separate. And one of the ways you have the same calendar is you share the same ID. Okay?
But she has a separate ID?
She has a separate ID. So the way we do ours is we have one Apple ID that we make all the purchases with. Okay? Now, and then we chose to have two separate iCloud IDs for all of our other things. Okay? So she has her own Apple iCloud account. I have my own iCloud account. Now, so we have basically three Apple type IDs. Her iCloud account, my iCloud account, and then the one where we purchase all of our items. Now, we don't necessarily have to have three because the one where we purchase all items, I could have made that my iCloud as well. And then she could have just had a separate, but I just set them up as different. Now, and that keeps all my stuff separate. She doesn't want to see my emails. I don't want to see hers. She doesn't want to see my texts. I don't want to see hers. It makes it real easy. Now, if she really wanted to see my emails, she could just say, "Hey, I want to set up your email account on my device," and I'd give her the codes, and she could do that. But that's how we choose to keep ours separate, and we that works for us. Maybe for you, one works well. Yes.
Isn't that idea though family sharing?
Yes.
You don't have to use the same ID?
Right.
Well, the family sharing, yes. You don't have to use the same ID for purchases.
And you can use, what we have done is we use the same ID for the purchase, for like if I buy an app, you can get it for free, so on. That you can do that family sharing. The other thing is you can also share one of the calendars if you want.
Okay.
And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be, we have different IDs, different accounts and items and everything like that. But now we're able to share purchases because of family sharing, and we're able to share calendar. Now you can have different colors for different things. If you want to put something in the other guy's calendar, you just put it in that color, and you get a little. No, I like if I put something on my calendar, he'll get a notice saying your is you have a new item on your calendar in family sharing. So it makes it a lot easier than messing around with the IDs.
Before that, you could subscribe to his account.
That's true, that's
So
true.
family sharing
Right,
took away the need to do the subscription.
correct. It's just, once you put it in and you decide on what color, and you can make that your default, like if, in our case, that's a default because we don't have business calendars. And it helps us to schedule our time. But you don't have to use it all the time. You can use your own color for whatever appointments you want.
Marilyn, can you control who can post to that calendar?
Yes, that's when you set it up. That's how you do it.
So in other words, I could my wife could always see it. Can she post, for example, a separate? I'm worried about it being bastardized too much. Can you control?
Well, all you do is when you put an entry into your calendar, you just put in a different. You have several different calendars that you can choose from, and they have a little different color dot. So if you want to put something in you don't want to share, or you don't want her to share, let her use the blue dot or the pink dot. It's like the subscription, but you don't have to subscribe.
Marilyn?
I'm sure in this tutorial on he has something on family share, but I have not seen it. And I have not studied this, but it's something that I can address at the message.
Yeah, it's not hard to set up. It's not hard.
I just haven't gotten there. Yes, one more.
Just wanted to ask Marilyn. I've done that, but the colors somehow got blended. How do I change the color of a particularly
Just
occurring?
you go into calendar.
Yeah, I'm on it.
And just assign what you want to that color.
Just change them over.
Right, and then, but you have to make, one of them should be a default. So like if you're normally putting, and you can, there is a way to select a default calendar. I don't know off the top of my head what it is.
And you're
but
talking
you
about,
can do that.
well, I use the Gmail calendar.
No.
That's what I'm talking about.
On your calendar app, on your iPad,
Mm-hmm.
you can go into a thing that says calendar.
Yes.
And there you have different calendars with different colors.
I have.
And you can add or delete them, or you can have them in there and check them or uncheck them.
Yes.
Am I skipping, if I'm messing that up, tell me. And you can also have a default calendar.
Yeah, I do.
And you can make that whatever color you want.
Oh.
So you need to assign the color to what you want it to be.
Ours is set up, my husband and I can both use it, but we don't share emails or messages. Don't ask me how I did it. It was a long time ago and I'm not messing with it.
Well, family sharing,
I don't have family sharing on.
No.
No, I just have two different iCloud addresses.
Well, I think if you take a look at family sharing, you can see if that would help you.
Okay. Thank you.
If you're used to changing, like when you put an event in your calendar, if you're used to looking at the color that you're putting in, you'll get it the way you want. If you're used to just sticking events in, you should make sure you have default for the color you want. Like in my husband's case, he never looks at the dot. So family share is default for him, and so I can have that or not because I always look at the color of the dot. So
I'd be
you
doing
make
the colors
your choice.
as to importance.
Yeah, but go into the
Completely
little thing
important.
that says calendar at the top on your device and assign the color to what you want.
Thank you.
Okay. And I haven't researched that yet, just because it's not something that I probably will use.
Yeah, she's asking a couple of different questions, I think. Some and how to use the different calendars. And the nice part about it is you can check it or uncheck it. If you uncheck it, it's not going to show up.
I want to reorganize them.
Right.
That's my problem, and I don't want to go through every month to do it.
Those check marks are only on the master calendar.
Okay. They're
So
not
when
in
you
right.
send them out to iPad or iPhone,
Right.
the only way they can change where it goes is by the color.
I'll have to do it manually.
But if you want to get the calendar out, you have to go back to the master calendar. But it's sharing, it's not a survey.
Okay. I want to move on, and I want to spend a little time on Safari. So going to play one of these videos on, this is on the new tutorial in lynda.com. It's pretty thorough on, I didn't say it on the family sharing, but let's look at the Safari web.
In this chapter, we're going to look at using iOS's built-in web browser, Safari, to surf the web, and we'll see some other cool tricks you can do while you're surfing around the internet. Let's begin with a quick tour around Safari. Like any other app, you launch Safari by tapping its icon. Now I'm looking at a new blank browser window. If you previously used Safari, you'll most likely see the last page you were browsing when you reopen it. Let's start our tour at the top of the screen and work our way down. This is where you enter the URL or address of the website you want to visit. Just tap in the field once and type in the address you want to visit. For example, I want to visit lynda.com. I'll type Lynda. And like most web browsers these days, Safari opens up some suggestions for what I'm typing. If any of these match what I was looking for, I could tap them immediately to perform a Google search. It even suggests lynda.com, which I could tap. But in this case, I want to type in the complete address, just so you can see how this works. If you've used previous versions of iOS, you might be used to having a .com button on the keyboard, which was a nice shortcut to have here so you didn't have to type that part out. Here in iOS 8, you still have that ability, but it's hidden in the period button. All you have to do is hold down on the period button, and up pops a menu with the most common web suffixes. .com is automatically highlighted, so I don't even have to slide up to select it. I just release my finger, and it's added to the address I was typing. If I needed any of these other choices, I could have selected them from the menu, but .com is the default here. As you can see, I've now added it twice, so I'll just tap delete to get rid of that extra one. Also, if you have international keyboards activated, as we saw how to do earlier, the corresponding domains will show up as well. For example, if you have the Chinese keyboard on, you'll see .hk, .tw, and so on. But in this case, I just want to go to lynda.com, so I'll tap Go. And now I'm looking at lynda.com on my iPhone. Alright, so that's the address bar where you type in the address of the web pages you want to visit. It's also where you perform searches. Anything you type that doesn't include a .com or other suffix automatically ends up as a Google search. So if I tap in the address bar and clear it by tapping the X button and just search for Lynda, as we saw earlier, I get a list of Google results. And I can click the top result here to again end up on the lynda.com homepage. Safari in iOS 8 is designed to be minimalistic. Notice as soon as I start scrolling, the address bar shrinks down and the buttons at the bottom of the screen disappear. And that dedicates the majority of your screen to the page you're browsing. Tapping the address bar area brings it back to full size and also pulls up the buttons at the bottom of the screen. Also located inside the address bar is the refresh button, which is used to manually reload the page. Notice while the page is refreshing, the reload button turns into an X, which is the stop button, which you can tap to stop the page from loading. Lynda.com, like many sites these days, has also been optimized to detect mobile browsers, so it defaults to our mobile site on the iPhone. If you're using an iPad, you'll usually get the full version of the sites that have mobile versions, since there's more screen space available on the iPad. But not every site optimizes for mobile devices. For example, I'll go to lynda.com/articles. Now, it's not very easy to read the page at this size. Most web pages are designed to be viewed on computer monitors, which are wider than they are tall, and we're currently browsing on the iPhone in portrait orientation. Now, as you might expect, you could pinch out and drag around to resize and position the column of text you want to read. But a much easier and quicker method is to simply double tap the column of text you want to read. And just like that, it's resized and positioned perfectly on your screen. And I think you'd agree that the text is a little easier to read at this size. Double tapping the text again zooms back out to the full width page view. Now these days, many websites, including lynda.com, do automatically serve up a mobile version of their site. This is often a version of the site that's been optimized for smaller screens, where buttons are bigger, navigation is easier, and so on. But sometimes the mobile versions of sites don't have all the same information as the desktop version, or some might say the real version. If you visit a site that detects you're on an iPhone and it serves up the mobile version, Safari in iOS 8 now lets you switch to the desktop version. To do so, tap on the address bar, and here on the favorite screen, drag down to reveal these buttons. Tap Request Desktop Site, and the page will reload with the desktop version of the site. Now, in some cases, it might be more difficult to navigate or read the desktop version of the site on your iPhone, but you might need to do this to find specific information, so it's a nice option to have available. Now, I mentioned previously that tapping at the top of the screen will immediately scroll you back up to the top of the page you're viewing. But here in Safari, it takes 2 taps. One tap brings the address bar back up to size, and then you can tap above it to scroll up. All right, now let's look at the buttons across the bottom of the screen. The angled bracket button in the lower left is the back button, which works just like the back button on any web browser. Tap it to return to the previous page. Once you've done that, the forward button becomes available. Tap it to go to the page you were just on. But as we saw, the button bar disappears when you're scrolling the page you're viewing. Instead of having to tap to reveal the back and forward buttons, you can swipe right and left to go back and forward. If you have trouble with this, make sure you're swiping from the very edge of the screen on either side. The second button is the share button, and we've seen this in action before. It gives you several options for sharing, printing, copying, or saving the content of the page you're on. We'll come back to this a little later. The next button is for adding bookmarks and for viewing your history, which are a pretty robust set of features, so we'll look at them in their own upcoming movie. The final button on the lower right corner of the screen is the Pages button. Sometimes you want to visit another website or web page without losing the page you're currently viewing. Just tap the Pages button. Here you can tap the plus button to open a new blank browser page. So for example, I'll tap the favorite icon for Apple.
Doesn't like us.
You can slow it down.
Lost the sound.
You can slow it down.
But I don't know how to slow it down.
It's because of the streaming. I think it is.
Okay. Stop and start it back up again. No. Doesn't like us. But, yes, Jerry.
I'd like to make an announcement before this crowd leaves. And George put out a notice on the discussion group today, but March 17th, you want to come here. December. We're in December. I'm sorry, I said March 17th. On the 17th of this month. 17th of this month. We're having Carrie Kursky. Right. Is our guest speaker. Carrie is working with the Sheriff's Department. She's a lawyer. Her focus is identity theft. Identity theft. Identity theft. It's going to be a great session. Make sure you're here.
Thank you. And I actually have a question for you. Should you post an article on our blog and want to get it removed, what do we do? Email you?
I think if you go into your account at Yahoo, I think you can delete
From there.
But you have to be
In the
in the browser at the Yahoo site under your identity.
Okay.
Mitch?
Yes.
On the maps.me, you can turn off or turn on the location in the location services of settings for map.me. And if you want to use it without that or with it, if you go down way to the bottom of the screen on the right, there are 3 little lines. If you tap on those lines, that gives you the menu, whether or not you have location turned on or off. So it just slides way down to the bottom where the 3 little dashes are.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Any question? Wait a minute. Let me put on my thinking cap. Okay. Go ahead. Proceed.
Some websites, when I pick it up here, all of a sudden burst out in music. Not gonna burst out in music or some sound. And even if I turn away from the website, there's voice, sound, and so on. How can I turn it on?
You go back to the site and you find and there's a stop button on the video display.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about if you could just swipes up from the bottom? Right.
He can do that too. You can, if it's playing and you don't know how to stop it, you can always go like this and just go and close temporarily. open it, it'll come right up. It did.
What about this? Spinning that bar.
Oh, yeah, you could also go down here
Bring up the control panel.
There you go.
and,
That's the way I do it.
and what, hit the arrow here?
That's what I want to hear on German.
That right there. Don't you hit? Right here.
Display, there'll be a stop button there.
Yeah. It's flying to be like that.
To me, that's the easiest way to stop it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, some websites, they start playing the movie whether you decide to do it or not.
And some advertisements.
Yes.
Is there a way to turn all that off?
Don't go there.
What's that?
Yeah, don't go there.
We went no.
Well, you recommended MSNBC,
Yes.
and all of a sudden they first found.
Oh, yeah, if you're on MSNBC, but there'll be a little X. And you just hit the little X and it'll stop. But sometimes that little X is hard to see. I mean, they had a really great site at one time, and it's gotten more and more garbaged up. And I wish they had a site I'd pay $5 to get a site without any ads on it, because I use that site all the time, and the advertisements are very annoying, and they don't offer an ad free version. Bloomberg is good, but Bloomberg is, again, they'll have some ads, I think, too.
I just touched that thing, now I can't get it on.
Turn the sound down on the
We're,
Dan's out of here.
On that note, yes, we are out of time. I thank you all for coming.